with Caring for Kreatures Veterinary Hospital, and today's talk with the doc is about birds. This is Rio. He is a ringneck parakeet and he loves earrings. They're called ringneck parakeets because the prominent ring around their neck. Males have a very prominent dark ring, as you can see. I got Rio from a previous clinic that I worked at. He was dumped in a cage that said, "Have mercy on me." He had a compound fracture with bone exposed, and I amputated his wing. Since then, he's doing very well and lives with me. He gets around quite well. He can't fly, obviously, but he uses his beak and legs to climb. So Rio is my buddy. He lives at my house in a cage, as well as I have a little stand for him to hang out with me. And then you may see him at our clinic sometimes, because sometimes he does go to work with me. He enjoys going to work and talking, or sometimes screaming. One thing to know about birds is birds are very loud. Rio can go on fits of screaming quite loud. My husband does not particularly appreciate it. But they can also talk. It's very cute when they talk. Rio's favorite words are "come here." We'll see if he'll talk for us, and "give me a kiss." He can also say "hello," "pretty bird," "what." Right now he's saying "what," and "huh." Yeah, huh? So they can actually, ringneck parakeets can learn a variety of words. They do tend to mumble a little bit, but they do learn quite a large vocabulary. Right now he's attempting to say "come here." So a few things to know about birds. They are social creatures, so they prefer to either be with other birds or to be with you. That's why I have this stand. Come here. That's why I have this stand. That way he can hang out with me when I'm doing my laundry or when I'm cooking. However, one thing to know when you're cooking is Teflon pans are toxic. Yes, toxic, huh? Teflon pans, non-stick pans, if you cook with them, make sure your bird is out of the room because it releases a chemical that can be toxic to them. As you can see, Rio gets around quite well with his beak and legs. He loves his perch. So birds are social, so they prefer to be with you or other birds. So if you're going to get a bird, just one, be sure that you spend a lot of time with it because they prefer to be with other creatures. And they really like to interact with you, hang out with you. If Rio's in the other room in his other cage where he goes to sleep and it's not nighttime, he will pitch a huge fit and scream until I come get him. They're also like little children. They're kind of bratty. They will pitch fits. If he's mad, he will just scream for no reason other than to annoy you. But they're quite fun. They're very entertaining, very loving. He will give kisses. And they do really like to interact with you. They're very interactive pets. Another thing to know about birds is their diet is very important. So that's one of the #1 reasons that I see birds is because of nutritional issues. So it's very important, a few things. One, birds love to beg. Birds will beg so badly over human food. They will squawk, they will scream. If they fly, they will fly to you. They are very pestering and will try to get you to feed them. They really shouldn't have human food, and especially they should not have protein, such as meat and even eggs. A lot of people think birds can eat eggs. They cannot. Protein in eggs are very high in fat and will predispose your bird to getting heart disease. So it's very important, no matter how much your bird begs, try not to feed him human food. Sometimes it can be very difficult because they will pester you a lot. You can try moving them to another room or rewarding them with other treats when they stop pestering you for your food. But it's very important to try not to give them human food. Another thing people like to do is they think that it's a bird, so it needs seeds. Actually, seeds are not good for birds. Seeds should be used more as training treats to teach your bird to step up, to come to you, to talk. But they should not be their only source of food. And if given the choice, a bird will always eat seed over another food because seeds are quite delicious. Kind of like if you gave your kid the option of eating McDonald's versus his fruits and veggies. So what they should be eating is some type of pelleted food, such as Harrison's bird feed or Zupreme. These Harrison's bird feed and Zupreme are balanced pelleted diets that have proper nutrition. So instead of seeds, it'll look like a pelleted food. And this is a commercial food that is made to be a balanced diet and is much healthier for birds. Birds that are on Harrison's or Zupreme are much less likely to get vitamin deficiencies. So if your bird's not on this, it's okay. You can start transitioning now, although it is a little bit of a task. So birds are very stubborn. Your bird is not going to want to eat that because, again, it's like you took your kid who was eating McDonald's and now you're telling him he's going to eat his fruit fruits and veggies. So at first they will rebel. I tell people preferably don't mix. Yes, are you talking to us? Yes, see, they're very loud. So preferably don't mix the two in one bowl. Otherwise what your bird will do is just take his bowl and throw the Harrisons all over the floor. Instead, I recommend getting 2 bowls, one with the old food, one with the new food. And for the first few weeks, your bird will not even look or touch the new food. And that's completely normal. So your bird is not going to show any interest in it. And this is a long, slow process. You just have to be patient. So when I got Rio, it took me about a month to transition him over to a pelleted diet. Even though I didn't know his previous owner, I could clearly tell he ate seed because he wouldn't eat anything but seed when I first got him. And so it took about a month. You have to be diligent and slow. And so get 2 bowls, one with the old food, one with the new food, and slowly each week lower the old food bowl a little bit at a time until 1 to 2 months later completely remove the old food. At that point, your bird should be eating the new feed. And you just have to be sure you stick with it, because if you don't stick with it, then they'll just win and eat their seeds. Another thing, a good treat for them is called Nutriberries. So these are little seed and pellet mixture, little balls, that is a healthier treat option for birds. So instead of feeding your people food, get some Nutriberries and give that as a treat. Yes, huh? And this is Hans making a guest appearance. He apparently also wishes to do a video, even though his video was last week. Yes, are you talking? Another thing to know about birds is, 1, because they're so intelligent, and 2, because they're social, they should have toys. And so you should give them a variety of toys. Each bird has their own preference of what type of toys they like. But typically birds really like to shred. So getting them toys such as wood that they can bite, paper that they can shred. Some birds like bells that they can ring. This has kind of a little jingle at the bottom. There's other toys that are straws that they can pull on, rope that they can shred. Birds typically won't eat these things. They'll just shred them, and that's okay. They enjoy shredding. That's normal. Another thing you can give them are foraging toys. So foraging toys are toys that you can hide food in. You can put food inside, and then they have to work to get the food out of the little holes. So this makes them forage like they would do in the wild. It makes it harder for them to get their food, and so putting tasty food in there is really good for them because they'll work harder trying to get it out, and it'll entertain them. So they'll have to use their brain to think about how to get the food out. It'll take them a while, so they'll be active, and it makes them use their beak and feet to try to get food out. This is really good for both behavior as well as boredom. Another thing with diet, they should be offered some fresh fruits and vegetables every day. So you should offer them more vegetables than fruit, but they should be offered a little bit of each. As far as vegetables, they really like peppers, and birds, a lot of people don't know this, can eat hot peppers. A lot of birds love jalapenos. Birds don't have the same heat sensors as us, and so a lot of birds really like hot peppers. Come here. Another thing that Rio's favorite is snap peas, and snap peas are good for them because they only eat the pea on the inside, so they'll actually shred the whole outside in order to get the little peas on the inside. So it's good for both boredom as well as it's healthy for them. So they can eat a variety of vegetables. One thing not to feed your bird is avocado. Avocado is toxic. As far as fruits, you can offer them a small amount of fruit. They love things such as apples, citrus, various fruit. The only thing to know is to be careful with seeds and pits. Don't feed them with seeds or pits. Rio's personal favorite is strawberries and blueberries. Another thing to know with birds is they're very sensitive to smells. That's another reason I'll see birds is for respiratory infections. So just like I talked about the Teflon pans, be really careful if you have a lot of air fresheners or candles, perfumes. Careful how fragranced your house is, because birds are very sensitive to fragrances. So be sure if you're going to burn a candle or something like that, move your bird out of that room so that their respiratory tract is not bothered by those smells. Another thing to know about birds is sometimes they can be cage aggressive. So Rio does, probably because he's a rescue, often act cage aggressive. And so he won't typically bite me once I have him out, but getting him from his cage or from his perch, sometimes he will display aggression and bite. So some people become fearful and don't want to pick up their bird anymore because of this behavior, especially if you have a very large bird like a macaw. That can really be painful if they bite you, and it can really hurt you quite badly. So a few tricks to try to work with cage aggression is some people, especially for bigger birds, will use perches or dowels and make them step up on the dowel first. Another thing you can do is towels. For a bigger bird, I would recommend a beach towel over your forearm. For a smaller bird, you can just use a washcloth. So using the washcloth, it just gives you a little protection from your hand so you don't feel fearful. Because if they go to bite and you pull your hand away, you've rewarded them for trying to bite you. And they now learned that if they try to bite you, that it's one, either entertaining and fun, or two, that they got away with not having to come to you. So allowing an extra barrier will help you feel a little bit safer and teach your bird that he needs to actually step up when you ask him to step up. Another thing you can do is positive reinforcement, and when they step up, give them one of those seeds that I talked about as a reward, as a treat. So for Rio, he really loves peanuts, so when I'm trying to teach him something, I will give him a peanut for being good. So what you can do is just protect your hand by wrapping a towel, ask them to step up, and Rio actually did quite well that time. Sometimes he will charge at my hand. What we're going to demonstrate now is beak, wing, and nail trimming recommendations. We're not actually going to trim Rio because he's up to date on his trimming, but we're going to show you what would be done. So typically what I recommend is using a washcloth to help hold the bird. And then things to notice for trimming, Rio's beak is very pretty. It was just recently trimmed. He doesn't have much overgrowth. So the top is nice and smooth. The bottom does have a little bit of overgrowth. If you see that white chalky stuff and that irregular layer, that could be trimmed, but the top of his beak does not need to be trimmed. And then for wings, here's Rio's little surgical site. Healed up quite well. He even regrew some of his feathers. And then his other wing, I don't trim his wings obviously because he can't fly, but if they need to be trimmed, and he gets vocal, he doesn't particularly like having trimmings done. If he needed to be trimmed, instead of trimming the ends, I actually trim the side of the feather. What this allows is a more natural growth of the feather, and so the body does not realize that the feather has been altered or damaged, so the feather has a more natural life cycle. It also allows the bird to glide safely to the floor instead of falling. So birds that get really short wing trims can fall, break their breastbones or their tailbones. So doing this different wing trim, it allows them to still glide safely to the floor and not injure themselves if they jump off of their cage. Another thing that has to be regularly trimmed is their nails. So Rio's nails are just slightly overgrown, not too bad. But what you look for is one, if they're sharp, and two, just the general length. So we could take a tiny bit off of Rio's nails, but they're not too bad. Rio and most birds will be very vocal over this. They don't particularly like being restrained, but they get used to it over time, and now he's talking to us. Yeah? Hello! They get used to it over time, and they become less agitated from it over time. One last thing to know is another reason I see birds is from injuries from other animals. These are prey animals, and so animals such as dogs and cats can sometimes injure these animals. So even if you think your bird is good with your dog or your cat, as you saw, Hans goes about my house, and Hans has never tried to get my bird. However, I would never leave them unattended together because, again, birds are prey animals, and at some point, a dog or a cat may try to attack a bird, either not even necessary aggression, sometimes just playing. And in playing, they can accidentally injure them, and punctures in birds are a big deal. Birds are very prone to sepsis, so if your bird is ever bit, even if you don't think it's serious, a puncture in a bird should always be cleaned, and the bird should always be put on antibiotics. So be careful if you own any other animals. Make sure that they're not left unattended with your bird. And that was our talk for the doc today. I hope you enjoyed meeting Rio. And if you have any requests for next week, message us on Facebook. Bye.